Northside Women. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Amy. This is Kristie. Hi, Kristie.
Hi.
She's here with me today to
I
do
am.
an interview. Kristie's on staff. We're working our way through the staff women who are willing to be interviewed, which we appreciate.
Yes.
And we are going to start with this segment called The Spill, where we discuss our preferences of whatever's in our mug. What mug did you choose? This, would you call this like a purpley?
Mm-hmm. Maybe
this
a
color?
like a burgundy,
Yeah, it's
purpley
beautiful.
color. It is pretty, and I chose it because of the design on it.
Okay.
More so than anything.
Okay, it is pretty.
Right.
And it's
It
like
is.
deep
It's really
and
cool. It is. I love.
nice.
It kind of makes me think of the fall, which
Yeah.
I am looking forward to
someday.
already.
Someday.
Yes.
It's not quite August when we're recording this, and it
right.
feels every bit right smack dab in the middle of summer.
It does.
And then what is in your mug?
Well, Earl Grey,
Some kind of tea.
black tea.
Yeah.
I believe is what
I think that's what we ended up with.
That's what we ended up
if
with.
you were like just sitting at home with a mug, what would be in it typically?
Coffee.
But you didn't choose
Always
coffee today.
I did not. And I do have teas at home, but most of the time it's coffee in my mug.
Yeah.
It is. I'm a coffee girl.
Me too, but I didn't have time to make coffee before I left the house today, so I also chose a mug with lemons on it, and I put the most hysterical, it's 6 ounces, I didn't want it to overflow, and it's about this, it's the most funny amount of tea. 4 Seasons. I have no idea.
Okay.
It made me think of Frankie
It's a
Valli
mystery.
and the 4 Seasons, so that's why I chose it.
Oh, I love
I've
that.
never heard of 4 Seasons tea. Probably someone knows what that is, but I don't.
It's probably someone's favorite tea, actually, and they drink it all the time.
Maybe.
And hopefully you didn't get theirs.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Hopefully you
It
left
was
some.
right in there. I'm like, if it's your favorite, put it in your drawer. Put it in your desk drawer and hide it
Right.
away from everyone. Sorry. Okay,
So
well.
what
the
about your
spill.
lemon mug? I'm just curious why you chose
I
lemons.
do like a citrus situation, especially in the summer. I fancy myself a gardener of some kind. I have a lemon tree that stands about a foot tall after 2 years and will probably never produce a single lemon. But
You can say you have a lemon tree, though.
and I think tree is even being generous at this point. But we're trying to keep it alive. It's a thing. It's okay. Meanwhile, on other parts of our property, things are growing and like berries are growing that are just wild. And I'm like, sure, just nature doing,
what nature does.
God can grow a thing. And I'm
Yes.
like, lemons. No, there's no lemons. But I just like a lemon for the summer. Do you drink lemon in things?
Tea.
Yeah,
When I
some.
drink tea, I
feel
don't
like
always
people are-
choose lemon.
Yeah, I feel like people are pretty specific about that.
But for sure.
That is The Spill. That
Okay.
Gracie named it, The Spill.
I love that. It sounds
know.
like something
It's
Gracie
fun.
would say.
I know. I was like, okay. So it's supposed to break the it's supposed to
The
break the
ice?
ice.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. I mean, sometimes the ice is already broken. I'm nervous about this.
Well, I'm curious. So you really need to take a drink.
Okay, here I go. Tastes like tea. I don't think it's anything.
There's no Four Seasons?
No,
Maybe
nothing
it's just a name.
Yeah, it's just a general.
Right.
It just tastes like tea, which I love. So, okay, here we go with our questions. How old are you? See, that's usually what we just jump right into. And
I
it's
love
a little
that.
jarring.
Yes. Well, I'm 49.
49.
Yes, 49. And so in April, I'll be 50. So
Okay.
almost the half century mark, which is so crazy.
That's amazing, though.
No, it is. But it just seems like, especially when you're younger, that it's gonna be a while.
It's gonna take forever
before
to get
you
there.
get there. But here it is.
But no, you blink. And then
Here it is.
this isn't on our list, but I always find it helpful to know, like, who's your family that we would know? Like,
Oh, well,
tell us about your family.
well, Corbin, my oldest daughter, Corbin, yes, because both of my girls grew up in this
Right.
church, which is
Right.
awesome. And so Corbin is my oldest daughter, and she actually just turned 29 this summer, which
Oh
is
my
crazy
goodness.
to me.
Wow.
And she's a mom. She's married and a mom of, almost a 4-year-old. And so,
Sweet
yes,
guy.
sweet boy. Yes. And then Brianna, who, is also married and about to have a little boy at the,
Wow.
end of August or beginning of September.
Okay.
So most people would know them if they've been in the church for a while.
Yeah.
And then my husband, Brendan. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we might see you around. Like, where would you find yourself on a typical day if you're not working? Like, as far as attending, maybe working too, but
Right. As far as like outside of the
yeah, like
church.
where might we run into you? What service might we see you at? That kind of thing.
Well, I mean,
Like on.
typically on a Sunday,
Yeah.
right? Usually in the 9:30 service
Okay.
because our students have Bible study at the next service
In
at
the
11
second.
o'clock,
Okay.
right? So typically we are all in that 9:30 service, and
Yeah.
then we have Bible study at 11.
Feels very empty in that service when it's like the week of youth camp, or
It's and you
when
don't
they're gone.
realize how much room or how many seats that they take
It's
up,
so
right?
true.
Yes, because I was even thinking about that with our children being gone to camp. The church on Sunday there was a quietness to it,
Yeah.
right? Just because
Like a
you hear
shocking
them.
amount. Sure.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what we were
yes,
used to. Yeah, they
absolutely.
bring a life
They
that,
do.
oh,
Yes,
even
absolutely,
someone
and I
said,
love it.
it felt so empty Sunday morning because those families that were like sponsors at Kids
We're
Camp weren't
serving,
there. And
right?
so they were like, this huge, like just hole in that where they
Yes.
sit. So I love that.
Absolutely. I do too. I
Yeah.
love that they take up enough space
Yeah.
to know that they're gone,
It's
to noticeable.
noticeable. Sure.
Yes. Yes. I
So
love
what
that.
is your job like
My
title and what do
description.
you do?
Okay. So I am the student and missions and family ministry assistant, is what I am. Right.
Wow. Okay.
So I work with Andrew, with our high school students, with Eric, with our middle school students, and then with Pastor Jim Garner with our missions and outreach, and then also with family ministry.
My
So
goodness.
it sounds like a lot,
does.
but it's just it's not any more than anybody else here.
It's pieces
It's
of
pieces
all those
of all those
things.
things
Okay.
is what it is.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want it to sound like no.
It does though, right? When you say it, it's
It
like
does. And I
sounds
have to sit there and
wild.
think about, okay, this is my role. This is what's on my nameplate. And this is what I do. But I don't want it to sound like I'm here all the time.
I think all of those men would probably say that that's true though.
And they might would.
Yeah.
They would, but I want to be very humble in it. Of
Understood.
course.
Understood.
Right.
You're saying you're not doing 4 separate full-time jobs, but
No.
you're doing pieces
All within
of
each
all
other
of those
that
ministries.
work together.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what are some of the like events that we might
Know of.
yeah.
Well, besides camps, that's the obvious,
Yeah.
right? And mission trips. We also have D-Now. D-Now is a big one here. Anybody who has been part of any of the churches really in this area know about D-Now.
Yeah.
We also we have a lot of little things that also a lot of smaller events that happen, all throughout the year. Our Bible studies, Crowned in Beauty is kind of a big part of that with high school ministry, which is our one big event that's in the spring, right? So those are just
Yeah.
some of the main things that we do. There's of course tons of others, but
Of course.
those are
yeah.
just kind of our bigger.
But those are like
events.
I feel like sometimes our seasons are marked by those big
They are.
things that happen that you're working toward and leading up to, and then it
Yes.
happens, and then you recover. Gracie was just saying to me this morning, she was like, it's almost August. That means we're, Rooted is people are signing up for Rooted.
Yes.
The tickets are going to drop for the
The
event in
women-
October.
yes, the
Like
women's
she was like,
ministry event.
everything sort of starts to happen at the same time,
does.
and I was like, yeah, it's kind of a perfect storm. But it's coming, but you can only prepare so much, and then
It's
there
true.
it is. So
It's so true. And even though, I feel like in the summertime, we may have events maybe a little further apart than they are during the fall and the spring,
Yeah.
right? We still have things going on, right?
Yeah.
And we're still busy.
It's always busy.
Right.
I feel like.
It is always busy, but it's a good thing.
Yes,
It's a good
that's
thing.
kind of what we want in ministry, right? Not to be
We
busy
do.
for the sake of busy, but to be offering.
There's a purpose behind it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Those students, especially.
Especially, yes, because they want to stay connected.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
And
good for
especially
them to
during the
be
summer.
engaged.
It is. Well, and especially during the summer when we don't have the regular Wednesday nights. And,
Sure.
So we have to stay connected with them somehow.
I would imagine it's easy to sort of disengage and
It is.
like offering them something that they can stay engaged with. And it's good for them too, right?
It is.
Like I remember summer stuff when I was a teenager.
See, those are things you don't forget.
Been a bit.
Has it been a bit?
It
Yes.
has. I'm turning 40 in a few days. And
Really?
I'm
glad you
that feels
They probably
true.
know your age, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that you just shared that.
It definitely feels accurate.
It's not like you're like, no, that can't be right. You're like,
No.
this feels
correct in all the good ways too, but
absolutely.
in some ways I'm like, oh yeah, that's been decades ago. Okay, yeah, that's all right. Okay, so then tell me how, like, you've told me a little bit about being here at Northside, your family growing up at Northside. How did you, like, what's your history at Northside? How did you end up here?
Well, 26 years ago, we moved to Weatherford. So we moved from West Texas, and we moved totally away from family.
Wow.
Yes. And at that time, Corbin was 3 and Brianna was 3 months old. And so it really was us just being obedient and following where God was leading us, because we would never have just on our own. We would never have been like, oh yeah, we're just going to pack up and we're going to go. And it was for my husband's job, right?
Sure.
But even in that,
That's
right?
so terrifying.
Oh my gosh, especially being a young mom and, having a 3-month-old and, when you're used to having family who's there to help. And it was a huge change for us, right? But it was so good, especially looking back, right? Because the lady that we were renting a house from here in Weatherford, she actually was a member at First Baptist.
Yeah.
And so, and not knowing anybody, she invited us to church because we didn't know anybody else going, we didn't know where people went, right?
Yeah.
And so when someone invites you, it means something, right? Especially if you're looking for that.
Yeah.
And so we started going to First Baptist, and I, met some really great young moms there who really, started pouring into me. And then though, I don't remember how, but we had our Children's Day Out program at that time here that was actually here in the old part of the church, right?
That's so true.
It is so crazy when I think about that. But I was given the opportunity to start working. It was a 2-day-a-week program here. And so I started. And so through that, I started meeting more ladies at Northside. Yes, it really pulled me in to get to know ladies here. And really once that happened, I, just really loved Northside. And so we started coming here. And at that time, I was a Christ follower, but I hadn't been baptized yet as an adult, right? Because I had given my life to Christ as a 12 or 13-year-old, but had never followed through in baptism. And so in 2002, it was in February actually, I was baptized here in the HSM room, the old sanctuary, which was so neat because both of my girls were also baptized in there. And so I know that kind of throws a whole lot together, but that's how we came to Northside, and we just got so involved. I started teaching GAs, which is old school. I know.
Did
I always think
GAs.
about GAs.
Me too.
Right? Yeah.
Aw,
I know. It was
GAs and
so
RAs.
fun. And I think that was probably really the first time I started teaching to that degree,
Yeah.
God's word to, those girls that I had, because I maybe had second or third grade. I don't remember, but they were little is all I
Yeah.
remember. But it was so fun. And so that's really when I even first got involved in teaching
Yeah.
in the church, and then started with preschool, and then just over the years, just,
Kind of made your way.
made my way up to high school.
And you
I
just
did.
haven't been able to give that part up.
I haven't. I love students. I do. I love students, and I love them all ages, but I think my heart is really for the teenage years
Yeah.
because it's rough.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like it's when, I always say that to teachers at different stages, like you kind of have to be called to any age because every age is rough in its own way.
It is. It has its own. No, you're right.
I feel like high school teachers say to junior high teachers, "Oh, I could never," and vice versa. Like,
Yes.
and they're like, "It's good. We need people to be where they're
Willing.
called to be
Yes.
for that reason because, it is. Those are hard years for students, and they need people who are like who want to be really engaged with them, not
Right.
who are just sort of doing it out of obligation.
Just because, right? And you have to like them too.
Yeah.
You honestly have to like to be around them.
Right, and that's hard sometimes.
It is. It is. And I think that's something I really loved about with our high school and middle school leaders is just seeing, even though they may have the same age at home, they still love to be around. Because, sometimes when you have that age group, you may be like, no, I don't want, I'm around them all the time. I don't want, give me something else, But, with our leaders, I feel like, man, they are called because, it's not easy.
Well, and that's a choice. It's kind of like in a marriage. There are days, sorry, Jeff, and every person who's married, there are days that you don't particularly, you're not like, oh, hi, you're just totally lovable today. There are days, we're a little prickly and we have to choose to love one another and to be on each other's team. Like that, I think that students need that. They need adults in their lives. And some of them have parents that are that way and some of them don't. And that's just how the world is. But
yes,
it will always benefit them to have other adults that are
consistent
on their side.
And on their side.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Consistent is a good word too.
Yes. And speaking truth, right?
Yeah.
Not trying to just be the best friend. Because I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of that in the world too, right? So we need adults who are willing to speak truth to them and know that it's because we love you that
Right.
that
That's
we're
a
having this
picture of
conversation.
discipleship,
It
isn't
is.
it? That
And I love
Jesus
that.
always spoke truth in love. So
He did.
He didn't do one without the other ever, really. I mean, it was always truth and it was always loving. So you were kind of mentioning this, but can you tell us how you came to be in a relationship with the Lord? You said 12 or 13 years old.
Sure. So, like I said, I grew up in West Texas, and at that time we had moved there because of my brother had epilepsy, and he was dyslexic, and so that was so many years ago that back then there was a lot less of knowing how to help those with dyslexia, right?
Sure.
And then even with my brother, they really focused on his epilepsy, and so we moved out to little bitty Sundown, Texas, because of the school district that they had there, and
Some
it was
support there.
a great support system, and it would work really well for my brother.
good.
So before that, we were really consistent in church. But when we moved out there, and I think a lot of it had to do with my brother's epilepsy because it wasn't under control. Going to church wasn't a consistent all the time thing for us as a family. And so I really went. I'd go with my family sometimes when they went, but the times that they didn't, I went with friends, right? Which was so cool because I think, it's really because of that I came to have that relationship with the Lord. And my friend Mandy at the time, she'd invited me to her church, and it really was just because I was going to other churches too with friends. I guess it was kind of like hopping around, but it's just because my friends invited me, right?
Why not?
And so I was like, yes, I'll go with you.
Sure.
And so she had invited me because they were starting a choir at their church, and she was like, Kristie, we need more people. We need more voices.
Okay.
And this is a town of 1,300 people, so that kind of like puts in perspective.
Sure.
And I was like, sure, I'll come and sing with you guys. I think we were getting ready for like their Christmas program or something. Not that I'm a great singer. They just needed voices, right? People who were willing.
People, yeah.
They needed people. And I was like, sure, I'll come sing. And so, so because of that, and because of our, all the rehearsals and stuff, I was there very consistently for a while. I mean, for a really long time.
You kind of had to be committed to that.
I did. And being there, that meant that I was, part of all the other things that were going on that was also pouring into me. And so I remember it very distinctly, just them giving the invitation. And I think it was after we had got up and sang in front of everybody. And I was in a pew, and my family wasn't with me. It was just myself and my friend, and then her family. And, and I just remember being called, like just being drawn, like, and myself thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go up in front of everybody, because I am not in front of everybody. I'm perfectly fine at the back. But I knew, like, I knew, you were like, and I knew, yes,
but it was very clear
it was very, very clear. And I did.
Yeah.
Yes, and I gave my life to Christ that night. And it was the sweetest thing. And I remember just going home and telling my mom and my family, and they were so excited for me. And but and then I didn't follow through in baptism because nobody really had those conversations. There wasn't those people to walk along beside me and talk about what the next step was and the why and everything. But that's okay, because I did later on.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I did later on, and so that's my story.
What a beautiful picture now that you work with students, and what a difference that made that your friend invited you. And
it was all because of her.
She may or may not have had some end goal in mind as a young, teenager, but she invited you and you went, and that changed your life. Like, that changed your eternity.
Yes.
Which is, I think, even as adults, sometimes it's so hard to invite people to come to something at church.
And why is that? What are we afraid of?
Exactly.
I
think you have a little less of that as a kid. You're like, yes or no, no big deal, right? Like, you're not, I think kiddos are sort of like, you're not, I think as adults we feel like we're being rejected instead of Christ. But kids don't really have those trappings the same way we do.
So true.
Which I love. I'm like, good. Like, keep living in that freedom,
That's right. And we do see that here a lot, right? We're often, not all the time, it does start with the kids coming, our teenagers, even with younger kids being part of something, and then the adults start becoming part of something, and then before you know it, the whole family is coming.
Absolutely.
And I love that.
Yeah, one person in a family. You said you kind of got drawn in at Mother's Day Out, like, there's usually a person in a family that when they get really involved, you can drag a lot of people with love, drag them with love. But there's a lot to follow behind that a lot of times.
There is.
It's very encouraging if you're a person, even a student, who's the believer in your family, like, God will work in that situation.
Yes.
And He's calling you to that because you're the person that's in that situation. So.
That's right.
Oh, okay. I already don't remember what my question. Oh, tell me maybe something that God's been teaching you lately. Yeah.
That's such a good one, because God's always teaching us something, right? So I was like, okay, God. Like, as I walk in the evenings, and I was like, God, what are you teaching me in this time right now? Like, you're teaching me things all the time, but what do I need to share?
How shall we narrow it
yes,
down?
because that's the hardest part, I think, right? Because we could just talk all day about
sure.
what God is teaching us. But
especially if we're paying attention.
if we're paying attention, you are so right about that. Yes. Be flexible, I think, is such a huge thing in my life right now. And really that started years ago with Jim Garner. When he first came here, he, with our mission trips, he always, the very top of the page, he would, when we had our meetings and stuff, underlined, important reminder, be flexible. For a good reason, right?
Yeah.
Because, and this is life anyways, but especially on these mission trips, he wanted people to be aware that we can have a plan and God may choose for it to look very differently. We can plan everything out, and it's very possibly there are going to be things that are going to be different. So he, he was like, be flexible. That's the most important thing.
It's a good one.
It is really good. And so I think that I've always taken that with me, and I think about that daily because, we don't know on a daily basis because of either life circumstances, life events, the Holy Spirit, what it's going to look like for the day. And, I always think, Kristie, you have to be flexible for what's coming because you don't know, but God does because he's in control,
Is that something that you would say you're naturally pretty good at, or do you think that has sort of been a challenge that God has been growing that in you? Or both?
I would definitely say, definitely both, because probably in my younger years, I wasn't as flexible because you're young, you haven't lived life as long, you haven't had the experiences that you have at the age of almost 40 and almost 50, because those things do mold you,
shape you, right?
They absolutely do. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think with the many challenges that have come my way, I've learned to either you're flexible or you're not. And if you're not flexible, then how you react to those things is going to be very different.
Yeah.
So, but if you know, it's going to be different.
There's something about change. Like if we can get good at knowing that change is inevitable and constant, I think about when people talk about someone being unflappable, and I'm like, I have no concept of this. I'm totally flappable all the time. But I think if we can get good at knowing, and, I think some of that comes from that kingdom perspective of like, there's a lot more going on than we will ever be able to comprehend, which means, the winds of change are constantly going to be blowing, and they should be, honestly.
Absolutely. And really, looking back, I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful for all those things because that's who I am today. It's because of those. It has taught me that. Yeah. And, it wasn't easy. We know that. And I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that even with the valleys, obviously those are not easy, but I can look back and say, but thank you because this is who I am today because of those things.
Yeah, and the hope is the next valley, it doesn't make it any less difficult.
No, less painful.
But hopeful, and, I think we can have a different perspective of, like, how is God using this? How might he use this in the future? It's hard. That's not really our natural wiring, is it? Our natural wiring is to go, how do we get back to homeostasis? What's happening? Which is understandable, but God calls us to more than that.
He does.
And he's the one who equips us for more than that, too.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes.
What's one good piece of advice you've been given?
Really, there's so many good advice, because people are always wanting to give you advice.
Happily.
They're very willing.
That's true. Whether you want it or not.
That's right. You're gonna get advice. But I think that it really goes along with just being flexible and just, taking it day by day, even second by second. Because, when we're in the hard times, a day seems like a long time, right? And so I think in those times, just second by second, minute by minute, and just leaning into him, I think, because that can be so hard because we're either leaning into him or we're leaning into other things, right?
Yeah.
And so
It's true.
I think for myself, it's just always knowing that, if I lean into him, it's going to be fruitful and it's going to be good, right? And so it's just a reminder, constant reminder for me, for us,
It's a
I
good
guess.
one. It is good. And you said it like it's always worth doing.
It is.
Sometimes
Even when we
it
don't
takes
want
me
to.
a while to learn the same thing
Yes.
over and over and over and over.
That's all of us, though.
But you're right. We're going to get that support. We're going to lean somewhere.
We are. And it's either going to be something that is, like sand or, that's just going to crumble, or
Right.
it's going to be and something unsatisfying. It doesn't satisfy us for very long.
Right.
Or it's going to be him who does satisfy us. And
Truly
he's a rock,
fulfilling.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Can be trusted to never
be
crumble.
trusted.
Can be trusted. Oh, that's good. That's a good piece of advice. Maybe you should go around giving unsolicited advice to people. I bet they'd love that. Be prepared. She might be coming for you.
Just come talk to me.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you about
could be the
things.
person
I
that's
will
like
talk.
giving advice when, I try really hard not to give advice when people don't ask for it. It's hard sometimes.
It is hard to hold back,
It
especially
is.
in your head when you're like, oh, I just really want to say this,
Yeah.
but the Holy Spirit is keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah.
That's hard too.
I feel like it's always well-intentioned, but
Absolutely.
The intention doesn't matter when it's the wrong thing.
Right.
It just doesn't.
So if the Holy Spirit is telling you to keep your mouth shut, keep it shut.
Well, better. Yeah, that would be a good choice. Okay, is there anything, our catch-all question at the end, what else do you want people listening to know? Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
Just take the time to just sit with him quietly. And when I say quietly, I don't even mean with no noise or anything. I just mean without all the distractions, right? Like I can sit with him while I'm walking, at the park, with all the beautiful trees and all those things, and just talking with him with my phone's not in my hand. I don't have my earbuds in, those things that are going to distract me, and just sit with him in that time and have conversation with him. And a lot of times that's my time of thankfulness and thanksgiving with him, because it's at the end of the day. So I've already gone through the day, right? And so I'm like, okay, God, let's talk about this,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like, and that morning time, that first time is super important with him too. But don't forget about the end of the day also, because I
love that.
For me, it's a really great way to end my day before I go to bed. Because, sometimes at the end of the day, your mind is racing and, all these things that have happened or didn't happen or, or whatever. But that's such a good time to talk with him about those things and do it in a place, in a way that, it's not where you're distracted by the world, I guess.
When you say quiet, you mean internally quiet.
Absolutely.
Like allow him to quiet your mind, allow him to quiet your spirit, and just rest in him and talk to him that way. You're right. We don't always have control over the chaos around us.
Right.
But we do have control over whether we put our phone down, turn the TV off, turn the radio off, and sit quietly as we can.
Yes, we can. Yeah. Right. And that looks different, I think, for everybody.
I like the idea of walking with it too, because you're literally, there's something about that connection with walking is so unique for our body. We really don't get the same thing from any other type of activity.
Right. And there's like this rhythm, that's involved, and
it's grounding.
It is.
Like the concept, we say these words like one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, one moment at a time, and you literally get like a slice of that.
You do.
Literally when you're doing that. So I love that. That's another good piece of wisdom. She came with the answers today, people. We needed them. I love that. Thank you for sharing with us. And thank you for letting me bring you tea that I spilled.
They didn't have to know that.
It's okay. If they're not familiar with me by now, there may not be any hope for them. But we're glad that you stayed with us, and thank you, Kristie. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.